but still has some information that's really good. So let me start off with something that has to do with Palestine. All right. Um, Hold on one second. Okay, cool. So it only says Christiam Disciple is live, which is a pity because the topic I'm going to talk about is one, fake names, Free Palestine, and two, I'm also going to talk about Restore the Snyderverse. And that James Gunn can only make one kind of movie. So let's get into it. In Martyrs of Gaza, it says, considering that Western countries support Israel, never could we have imagined that the occupation would not only desecrate the sanctity of the ancient St. Porphyrius Church by targeting it with an airstrike, but that the West would not utter a word in protest. Now, as we know, most Western countries, at least they began as Christian. One of the oldest Christian churches in the entire world was St. Porphyrius Church, which the compound's still there. But some of the building has been damaged. Now, let me give you a little background into Church of St. Porphyrius. Okay. This is the walls of the church in 2022. This is what the inside of the church looks like. Well, it used to look like, shall I say. That's the walls of the outside of the church, and I'll give you a little history about it in a minute. This is St. Porphyrius Church. It's a beautiful, beautiful church. That it really matters that it's beautiful, but I just want to show you. There's the balconies of it. It's very, very old. Very, very, very old. Very old church. Okay. See the old paintings in the church as well. So Porphyrius Church is found in Gaza. And you can see some of the ruins of the church there. Church there amidst the ruins. So they destroyed parts of the church. Okay. Let me give you, first of all, a little history of the church, and then I will go into some other things. The Church of St. Porphyrius is a Greek Orthodox church in Gaza City, Palestine. It belongs to the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem and is the oldest active church in the city. Located in the Zaytun quarter of the old city of Gaza, it is named after the 5th century bishop of Gaza, St. Porphyrius, whose tomb is situated in the northeastern corner of the church. I'll give you a little history of it. The church was built on the site as early as AD 425, so in the 5th century. Yes, and was converted into a mosque in the 7th century. So in 1600 and something, it was converted into a mosque. The current church was built by the Crusaders in 1150s to 1160s. So apparently the Crusades, the Christian Crusades came and dealt with that. They dedicated it to Saint Porphyrius. Records from the 15th century show that the church may have also been dedicated to the Virgin Mary. The church was renovated in 1856. Okay. So it's a very old church. The Patriarch of Jerusalem appointed Saint Porphyrius when he was aged 45 as custodian of the venerable wood of the cross of the Lord. He is described by the Roman Christian hagiographer Mark the Deacon as the Christianizer of the disobedient pagan people of Gaza. According to the legend, there was a terrible drought in Gaza that ended only after Saint Porphyrius and a group of 280 Christians prayed to the god with fasting, vigil, and procession. This led to the conversion of 25 pagans, as the rain in this region was considered God's greatest gift. In the 2014 Gazan war, around 2,000 Palestinians slept in the church during Israeli bombings. The church was again used as refuge for hundreds of civilians during the 2023-2024 Israel assault on Gaza. In October 2023, it was the site of an airstrike by the Israeli Air Force, which hit two halls sheltering Palestinian Muslims and Christians, causing the collapse of at least one building and killed between 16 and 18 civilians. The church was attacked again in July of 2024. Now, this is very important to realize that this church had been around, for almost, well, I guess I could say that. It was around for more than a millennia. And it went through different incarnations, as you can see. When the Muslims came and conquered, it was converted into a mosque, and then a little bit later on, it was converted back into a Greek Orthodox church. But what's really interesting about the whole thing is this building has a lot of history. The compound has a lot of history. And while there are still buildings standing in the compound, an area where people were finding refuge and finding shelter in was bombed. They killed, and it is horrible what happened. Now, this had never happened before. People could still seek refuge in churches, in schools, in other buildings. In war, if you want to use that, there should be places of refuge. Like in war, you're not supposed to bomb churches, houses. Sorry, not houses, but churches, hospitals. These are just no-nos. Embassies, they're not supposed to be bombed. But apparently, the Israelis didn't care, and they bombed everything. So everything got bombed in that place of Gaza. And I give you all of this in context because I'm going to finish off what happened in that bombing in 2023. These are martyrs of Gaza, mind you. We are the loving couple Vila Amash and Abdel Noor al-Suri. And this is our cute little baby daughter, or angel, Aliyah, from Gaza. So there's the baby there, and there are the two people. We wished no one any harm and just wanted to live in peace, so we sought refuge in the Orthodox St. Porphyrius Church, praying that our lives would be spared. On October 19, 2023, disregarding any moral or legal considerations, Israel targeted the church with a missile, and our entire family was martyred. I wanted to mention this to show you how senseless and foolish these Israelis are. And now I'm going to expose them even further. I'm going to show you something. First, I'll play a video by Stu Peters from the Stu Peters Network. And it's titled, "Every Single Israeli Prime Minister Has a Fake Name. These people are total imposters. How Israeli prime ministers change their names to sound more Middle Eastern." And I'm not going to play the video because I don't want to get a copyright strike. So what I'm going to do is just show you myself how true this is by actually bringing them up. So these are all, I think there's 16 prime ministers of Israel. And the first one was David Ben-Gurion. At least that's the name he gave himself. And now we're going to go into each one of them. And the most recent one, of course, is Benjamin Netanyahu. Now I'm going to expose the lies. And this is not only a common practice by Israeli prime ministers. It's also a common practice by Israeli presidents. It's also a common practice by several Jews who changed their names in public, performing Jews, Hollywood Jews, so that you don't realize that they have European names. Let's begin with David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister of Israel. And this is something you can look up very easily. You can go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia doesn't hide anything. So this is what David Ben-Gurion's name looks like in modern Hebrew. This, mind you, is Babylonian Hebrew, or it's actually Babylonian letters that they use, and they say this is their Hebrew. This is not ancient Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew looks nothing like this. So they came up with their own new language. Okay. So, personal details. He was born David Gruen. He was born in Poland in the Russian Empire, October 16th, 1886. David Gruen, not Ben Gurion, but Gruen, October 1886 to 1st December 1970, was the primary national founder and first prime minister of the State of Israel. As the head of the Jewish Agency from 1935 and later president of the Jewish Agency Executive, he was the de facto leader of the Jewish community in Palestine and largely led the movement of an independent Jewish state in mandatory Palestine. Notice, we're talking about Palestine. It's not Israel, it's Palestine. Born in Plunks, then part of Congress Poland, to Polish parents. He immigrated to Palestine region of the Ottoman Empire in 1906, adopting the name Ben Gurion in 1909. His name was not David Ben Gurion, his name was David Gruen. Okay. Moshe Sharet. That's the second prime minister of Israel. His real name is right below. It's Moshe Shertok. Born Moshe Shertok, the 15th of October, 1894. He was in the Kherson region of the Russian Empire. He was born in what we now know today as Ukraine. Ukraine. Not Sharet. He renamed himself Sharet. Okay, let's keep it moving. I'm going to show you something. David Ben-Gurion became president again, prime minister again, and then we had Levi Eshkol. He was born Levi Yitzhak Shkolnik. Shkolnik. Not Eshkol. He renamed himself that. Born Levi Yitzhak Shkolnik, the 25th of October, 1895. He was in the Kiev Governorate. That's again Ukraine, the Russian Empire, a Russian Empire. So Kiev is in the Ukraine. So he came from the Ukraine region as well. So his surname is not Eshkol. His surname is Sholnik. He's a Ukrainian. That's the second Ukrainian. Let's get some more stuff here. So that's Levi is a Ukrainian. Moshe is Ukrainian. And David Ben-Gurion, he's Russian. Golda Meir, the first female prime minister of Israel. I'm just using Wikipedia, ladies and gentlemen. Golda Meir, her original name is Mabovich. Mabovich. She was born Golda Mabovich, the 3rd of May, 1898. In what region? Kiev. Again, the Ukrainian part of Russia. So a lot of these people either come from Poland or Ukraine. In other words, western sides of the Russian Empire. So this is why Israel has such a close affinity to Ukraine and Poland, because most of these people come from Ukraine and Poland. Now, they were considered Jewish, even though they had European names. Mabovich is a Russian name. It's not a... So the question is, when these Jews migrated, did they take on the names of the people there, or did they marry into the Europeans and so get these surnames? I don't know, because when they come to the U.S., they also change their names. They seem like chameleons. They change their names to wherever they are so they can be more accepted. And this is not strange, because we see this again here with Golda Mabovich. She changed her name to Golda Meir, but her real name is Mabovich. 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 My bad. I called her Mabovich. It's funny. Yitzhak Rabin. Yitzhak Rabin was president of Israel, prime minister of Israel twice. Okay, twice. The only prime minister I know of who was actually seeking actual peace. Okay, his real name, they don't say. Okay, don't worry, I'll get it. I just have to look for his parents' name. Hold on. Give me a second. Personal life. Rabin was born at Sher Zedek Medical Center in Jerusalem on the 1st of March, 1922, in Mandatory Palestine. He was born in Palestine. To Nehemiah and Rosa Rabin, immigrants of the third Aliyah. That's the third wave of Jewish people that emigrated to Palestine from Europe. Nehemiah, however, was born Nehemiah Rubitsov in the Shetl Sidorovichi near Ivankiv in the southern Pale of Settlement, present-day Ukraine. So again, this is the fourth person from Ukraine. So his real name, apparently his father changed his name. His father, not him. He was born in Palestine. But his father was not born in Palestine. His father was born again in Ukraine. Ukraine. And his father's name was Rubitsov. Rubitsov. Okay? That was his name. European name. Okay. Now I'll give you a little bit more information. His father, Menachem, this is Yitzhak Rubitsov's father. Nehemiah. His father, Menachem, died when he was a boy, and Nehemiah worked to support his family from an early age. At the age of 18, he emigrated to the United States, where he joined the Pol Zion Party and changed his surname to Rabin. So Yitzhak Rubitsov, his father changed his name from Rubitsov to Rabin and came to Palestine in 1917. He went to Mandatory Palestine with a group of volunteers from the Jewish Legion, and 5 years later gave birth to Yitzhak Rubitsov. All right, let's keep it moving. Menachem Begin, former Prime Minister of Israel. Okay. Menachem Begin. Okay, let's see here. Okay, they don't say his name here. Seems as though he had some military service in Poland or something like that. Battles and Wars. The Jewish Insurgency in Mandatory Palestine, 1948 Civil War in Mandatory Palestine, 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Okay, I'll tell you a couple of things about Menachem. But first, if I go into that, let me get his actual name. Let's see here. Okay, his name is actually, he was born okay. His real name is Menachem Begun, son of Hasia Begun. He was in the Russian Empire, but today it's known as Belarus. So he was raised in Belarus. Okay. Now Menachem Begun, that's his name. He joined what was known, he was a passionate Zionist. He was an admirer of Theodor Herzl. Again, Theodor Herzl is not a Israel, a Middle Eastern name. It's a European name. After you give traditional, okay. The important thing to know about Mr. Menachem Begun is that he was involved. He was the founder of Herut and Likud, the 6 prime ministers. But you have to understand, he was known as a terrorist. He had a Zionist militant group called Irgun. The revisionists break away from the larger Jewish paramilitary organization Haganah. He proclaimed a revolt on February 1944 against the British mandatory government, which was opposed by the Jewish Agency. As head of Irgun, he targeted the British in Palestine, with a notable attack being the King David Hotel bombing. He was responsible for that. Later, the Irgun fought the Arabs during the 1947 Civil War in Mandatory Palestine, and as its chief, Begun was described by the British government as the leader of the notorious terrorist organization. So he was one of those guys who was wreaking terror inside of Palestine. He would bomb, he would be responsible for bombing a number of Palestinian places and businesses, and he started to target the British, and of course, culminated in the King David Hotel bombing. So terrorism was started by this guy. And what's interesting about this is, a lot of people always feel that in the Middle East, it's the Arabs who are the terrorists and so on. Okay, ISIS, which is not really an Arab group, or even like Al Qaeda, which is not really Arab. CIA and Mossad agents mostly in there, and also we have mercenaries and recruits from all over the world. But suffice it to say, people think that, it is the Palestinians, it's the Arabs who are the terrorists out here. And the truth be told, what a lot of people don't know is that Israel is the first group of terrorists to inhabit the Middle East. And these terror attacks by these paramilitary groups were devastating. They took lives. They bombed, and to this day, Israel is known for bombing. You think of the 9/11. Again, Israel is behind that. Mossad was behind the bombings, and the dancing Israelis, those were the guys that planted the bombs in the buildings. Um, you think of just very recently, the California wildfires that happened. There were Israelis, there's footage of it, Israelis, a lady got footage of Israelis dancing and singing while the wildfires were going on. And they were rejoicing. I would believe that they sabotaged those wildfires. Um, you think about it, the only time we had Palestinians doing terror attacks, they were suicide missions. And you have to ask yourself, what would anybody do a suicide mission? It's because they have nothing to live for. So this is why they're doing it. And it was still within mandate Palestine. It was very rarely was there an explosion in Tel Aviv. Most of whatever happened was in mandated Palestine. It was in the West Bank. These things were happening, or in at waterfronts, stuff like that. Now, the point I'm making is a lot of people always associate the Arab world and the Muslim world with terrorism. And it's interesting because 9/11, that's exactly what the Israelis were able to pull off. They were able to convince people that a group of Arabs somehow hijacked a plane, or two planes, or three planes, whatever it was, and bring these planes down and crash these planes into the Twin Towers. That, Osama bin Laden gets way too much credit for that. That was controlled demolition of buildings. No, okay, maybe they succeeded in crashing the planes into the buildings. Maybe they did. But there's no way a whole building's going to go falling down because a plane crashed into the top of it. Not those buildings. And no set of rationalization. It just defies logic that a building will crumble from the top, go down. That never happens. That's impossible. Okay? That's impossible because you can't, what? So everything below suddenly just crumbles? Why? Because of the heat from above? There's no such heat. There's not enough heat to cause buildings to crumble. And this is, we're talking about solid reinforced steel. That ain't happening. Somebody said they heard an explosion below at the bottom of the building, and then it started popping, going up. I believe that. I believe it was a controlled demolition. I believe there were explosives in the walls of those buildings at key structural points in the building to bring down the buildings, as they do bring down any building. And they fell exactly like a controlled demolition. The investigation into 9/11 and people saying it was an inside job is absolutely true. The CIA had to be in coordination with Mossad, and the fact that uh, the North Atlantic Air Force was said to stand down all showed that this was a planned thing, and it was coordinated between the CIA and Mossad. And it's just what it is. Okay, people? So Israel's been doing this for a long while. Okay? They've been doing terrorist attacks and all kinds of other things. So I say this to say, one, this prime minister, the sixth prime minister of Israel, was the head of a terrorist unit. Now, everybody wants to talk about Hamas and Hamas and Hamas and Hezbollah. What about Erdogan? And the sixth prime minister of Israel, who was wreaking terror in Palestine, both attacking the British and attacking the Palestinians that lived in Palestine. How do you explain that? So this guy, he was the head of a terrorist organization. And Israel has not stopped their terror against the Palestinian people, against the Syrian people, against the Lebanese people, every now and then against the Jordanians, every now and then against the Egyptians. They have not stopped. Particularly the Palestinians have been terrorized to this day. Let's keep it going. Talk about fake names. We got a lot of fake name people out here. Let's keep it going. Yitzhak Shamir. His real name is Ikchak Chazierniki. He also came from Belarus. Okay? And he's part of the Likud party, along with that other murderous guy. So Yitzhak Shamir, that's not his name. His real name is Ikchak Chazierniki. Shimon Peres. Talk about a lot of fake name people, bro. He was born Simon Perksy. Simon Perksy from Poland. He was born in Poland. Now it's part of Belarus, apparently, or whatever. So, again, these are European people. How much of them are actually Jewish is another story, because those are European names. I would not be surprised. These are Khazars from the Khazarian region. They're not real Jews. They're actually European people who converted to Judaism. I would not be surprised if that's the case. Let's keep it moving. Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the easiest of them all. Now, he was actually born in Palestine, which is the irony of ironies. He was born in Palestine. You know? However, okay. He was born in 1949 in Tel Aviv. So he is actually born in Palestine after Israel had become a nation. His mother, Zillah Segal, was born in Petah Tikva in the Ottoman Empire's Matasarifate of Jerusalem. And his father, Warsaw Baum, so his mother was also endemic to the Middle East. His mother was born in the Middle East, but his father, however, was Warsaw bound Benzion Miliokowski. He was born in 1910 and lived to 2012. He was a historian, especially in the Jewish Golden Age of Spain. His paternal grandfather, Nathan Miliowski, was a rabbi and Zionist writer. So, Netanyahu's father, which was Benzion Milikowski, Don't know where he came from. They don't say. It's kind of interesting. They don't say where he migrated from, but I believe it's Poland. Melikowski. Anyway, he was a Netanyahu's father migrated to mandatory Palestine. He Hebraized his surname from Melikowski to Netanyahu, meaning God has given. Melikowski doesn't mean that though. While his family is predominantly Ashkenazi, he has said that a DNA test revealed him to have some Sephardic ancestry. He claims descent from the Villa Gaon. Now, I'm going to tell you this. His mother was born in Palestine, that's for sure. Right? But his father wasn't born in Palestine. His father was Milikowski, and he was Polish. Seems as though he also lived in United States in Pennsylvania for a certain period of time. I think his son is right now in Florida. So this is his connection, I guess, to America. Okay. So he's not Netanyahu, he's Milikowski. As I tried to tell you guys, none of these guys actually had, well, Netanyahu, to some degree, he at least he was born there. Two, his mother was born in Mandate, Palestine. So his mother was part of Palestine. Okay? However, his father wasn't. Okay? His father wasn't. And they changed their name once again. Naftali Bennett. Okay, Naftali Bennett is the only prime minister I know of that did not change his name. That's his real name, Bennett. And Bennett is obviously not a Hebrew name. Nonetheless, here's his information. He's born 25th of March 1972. He's 52 years old right now. He's Haifa, Israel. He's still alive, apparently. So, Naftali Bennett. I'm trying to find out. Hold on a second. Hold on. I'll find it. Okay. He's the youngest of three sons born to Jim and Myrna Bennett. So, American Jewish immigrants who moved to Israel from San Francisco in July of 1967. Both his parents were from Ashkenazi Jewish backgrounds. His father's ancestors were from Poland, Germany, and the Netherlands. Wow. Hence Bennett. Bennett's paternal great-great-grandfather, Julius Salomon's son, was from Lubzenica, Poland, and arrived in San Francisco in 1851 during the California Gold Rush. His mother's ancestors lived in Russia and Poland, and her parents immigrated to the United States prior to World War II. So these people also are foreigners to the land. Okay, let's keep this moving. And then we have the second most recent president, which is Yair Lapid. Yair Lapid. Well, Yair Lapid. Hold on a second. He was born 1963. He's 61 years old. He was born in Tel Aviv. Let's see here. Okay. So Yair Lapid was born in Tel Aviv, son of journalist and politician Yosef Tommy Lapid, who served as justice minister, novelist, and playwright Shulamit Galidi Lapid. His father was born in Novi Sad, Yugoslavia, now known as Serbia, to Hungarian Jewish parents. and his mother was born in Tel Aviv. His maternal grandfather, David Galadi, originally from Transylvania, now Romania, was a writer and journalist who was among the founders of the newspaper Ma'ariv. He has a sister, Marav, who's a clinical psychologist. Another sister, Michael, died in a car accident in 1994. His paternal grandfather, Bela Meir Lampel, a lawyer and Zionist activist, was murdered in Malthusian concentrated camp, while his great-grandmother, Hermione Lampel, was sent to Auschwitz, where she was murdered in a gas chamber. So I'm trying to find out where you get the Lapid name from. They're Lampel. You know, they're not Lapid, they're Lampel. But anyway, Lapid grew up in Tel Aviv and London. His childhood home in Tel Aviv was in Yad Eliyahu. So apparently his real name is Lapel, not Lapid. So once again, these people who are supposedly having Hebrew names, they keep on changing their names, you know? And he changed his name as well. None of them have endemic names to the region. None of them speak the endemic language of the region, which is Aramaic or Arabic. Okay? And none of them look like they came from the region, right? None of them. They look like Europeans. And all of this just to say this, that these people who have been destroying old buildings, old artifact buildings, old churches, they don't care about the region, the olive trees that have been there for hundreds of years, the orchards, the fruits. They don't care about those things. You know that they planted a forest over the ruins of many cities that they destroyed, Palestinian cities. They planted all these trees to hide it. The amount of history in the area, the cultural history, etc., of Palestine. These people are not tied to the land like how the Palestinians are, because there's not really home to them. They're willing to abandon that area and just leave if there's too much pressure put on them. What I've realized is that the Western world has everything ass backwards, and they don't realize how foolish they look. Let me explain what I mean. You go into a new place, new area. You formulate your own brand of language. You change your name so you can look like you blend in the area for some reason. You don't look like the people endemic of the area, but you change your name to blend in. And then you bully the people there, and you bully the administration there so that you can get land. And to this day, you have not stopped bullying the people there, and you haven't stopped bullying the administrations there because you feel you have a superpower behind you and Europe. I want to say this, and I want to make it abundantly clear. These people are fake, these prime ministers. The country is fake. And these people have no ties to the land. What I mean by that is, because they're not endemic to the region and they moved elsewhere, they come with their foreign practices. They come with their Western values in a place where the people lived and coexisted quite fine. And there were Jews who were endemic to the land, okay? Endemic to the land, as there were other races. And yes, even though we had the Arab, the jihad, and after the jihad, we had the Crusades. Even after all of that, we still had people living in harmony on the land. practicing their different belief systems, having their different cultures, doing commerce with each other and trade peacefully. In come these set of people on various waves. At first, they're very peaceful. And then later on, they start to agitate things. They start to agitate situations with the endemic Jews and with the Muslims and with the Arabs and with the Druze and with the Berber. And they start to force to want to work towards a nation, knowing they were going to displace a lot of these people. I tell you right now, when I watch the news and how the news is covering Israel, how they're firing people who, because a gentleman says, Hamas says they're okay people, and he gets fired, right? You look at the laws being put in place specifically for Israel. We see they're telling their hand so well, and the American people now are seeing through the veil, the deception, sorry. And these people are so stupid, they don't realize that they're deceiving people. They're trying to deceive people, and everybody's seeing through it now. Israel is what I realize is it's just the Palestinian initiative. It's not the real Israel. It's not a real place. The more I think about it, the more I realize that it needs to be deconstructed. It needs to be disabled. And something else needs to replace it. And it's in the dying, it's in the dying stages now. Both the US and Israel are in the dying stages. They don't realize it. But it's going to become more and more apparent. And there are consequences to decades and decades of violating international law, to trampling on the principles of the United Nations. There's consequences to these things. That's what these guys don't realize. You know, they think because you suck the devil's tail, you're going to get away. There's no guarantees. When you serve Satan, he'll betray you on the drop of a dime. So, these people all have fake names. Okay? I want to wrap up with one more thing. I want you to listen to South Cali Guy, his little excerpt. And this is based on Den of Nerds. It is somewhat of a supposition, but listen to it as he puts things together. Okay, I have to turn up the volume.
Them hiring that former Disney guy that's handling the canceling CCXP. This would explain them hiring that former Disney guy that's handling the marketing. This would explain everything. So what I think happened, and this is speculation on my part, but it's also kind of like reading the tea leaves of what's going on here, is that Warner Brothers executives sat down to watch James Gunn's Superman, and in the initial cut, about half of the people in the room, which probably included David Zaslav, hated it and thought it was the wrong tone for Superman. Okay? And because of all the stuff we've been talking about as far as what is at stake for Superman, what is at stake for Warner Brothers was like, whoa. That's why you get a canceled CCXP appearance. That's why the trailer has no dialogue. It's got no dialogue, brother. We haven't heard any of the actual dialogue other than take me home crypto shit. Okay? So maybe that's why they're kind of quietly changing the movie behind the scenes. From what we've heard, they are doing some reshoots and changes. Think maybe cutting some of the humor out. I'm not sure. But that would also explain why they hired this marketing guy, okay? Because here's what I would tell the marketing guy, right? Like if you bring this marketing guy in here, basically this is the conversation. We might have actually fucked up and made Guardians of the Galaxy Superman. How do we break that ice with the mainstream audience? This guy's job is to take the marketing of Superman, which has happened thus far, which works on a tonal level, and he has to like figure out how to fit this way too goofy Superman movie, because you can't lie to people. You can't like hide what it is. At some point, they have to reveal that James Gunn made a James Gunn Superman. They have to reveal. You can't fucking hide that all the way up until the release. Do you understand what I'm saying? So at some point, they gotta break that ice. They gotta let us know. They gotta confirm it. It's a goofy, jokey Superman movie.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to do that, but it's still socially acceptable to shoot a missile in the general direction of somebody you're upset with. You're like, dude, there was like kids over there. This is my favorite response. Well, you know, they're using kids as human shields. It's like, well, you gotta work around that. Jesus Christ, if I'm mad at my neighbor and I want to beat the shit out of him, but he's holding a baby, right? I wouldn't come in and try to punch him through the baby. Yeah, you go in, you know, you throw a hook, you sweep the legs. You do it on the lawn so the baby bounces off the grass, all right? There's fucking rules to this shit. I do think it's hilarious that college kids are all freaking out, you know, fucking supporting the Palestinians. How dare the Israelis do what our country has been doing for 20 years? What the fuck? You don't do that shit, we do. You didn't like that one, did you? That was a little too close to home. All right.
You ever seen a Palestinian Christian debate with a Christian Zionist before? Because Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk was recently debating college students again, and he was challenged by a Palestinian Christian.
How does Israel benefit us as a partner? Well, first and foremost, you're a Christian. Yes. How do we know the Bible is true? From the land of Israel, Palestine. That's not Palestine. You want me to put British dash Palestine? Does that help? So, are you Armenian Christian? No, I'm actually Palestinian. Okay. So and you're Christian? Yes, I'm a Christian. Okay, well, praise God. I'm thrilled to hear that. So, but I think you can acknowledge that we as Christians have to honor the Jews. Do you believe that? I think we should honor everyone. People are people at the end of the day. But in our scriptures, it does say that we should bless the Jews. That, you know, Genesis 12:3, bless those. I will bless those descendants that bless me. And we have a covenant with Israel. Do you share that as a Christian?
First of all, it's just so wild to tell a Palestinian dude that Palestine doesn't exist. Like, yes, it does. Just because it was under British control doesn't mean it never existed. Now, I was raised Christian, and I know a lot of Christian Zionists, so I'm very familiar with the arguments Charlie Kirk is making here, and how stupid they are. They make this argument by cherry-picking verses from the Old Testament while ignoring the New Testament or anything that contradicts them. But there are 0 Bible verses that explicitly state Christians have a covenant with Israel, especially not modern Israel, which was founded in 1948. However, there are verses, especially in the Old Testament, that say the Jews are God's chosen people. However, the entire Christian idea of Jesus Christ is that he came to earth to die for everybody's sins. And after that, there are no chosen special people except those who choose to follow him. And the Bible is explicit about this. Read Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Greek, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Or this one's even more on the nose from Galatians 3:29. And if you are Christ's, then you are Abraham's offspring, heirs according to promise. And Abraham, of course, is known as the father of the Jewish people. According to the Bible, they are his descendants. So the Bible is explicitly saying that after Jesus Christ died, everybody who accepts them into their heart become God's chosen people. It's no longer just the Jews. And thus it makes absolutely 0 sense to support the unaliving of Palestinian Christians because you say that Jewish Israelis are God's chosen people. Because according to the Bible, the Christians who Israel is bombing in Lebanon are also God's chosen people. Not to mention, the most religious of the Jews always rejected Zionism and the state of Israel. They see it as forbidden by the Jewish religion. We recently did a whole YouTube video on this, which you can check out at Midwestern Marks. I'm so tired of people cherry picking the Bible to use Christianity to justify an incredibly murderous ethno-nationalist political project. And Charlie Kirk is just following in the footsteps of opportunistic Christian Zionist grifters like Jerry Falwell. And you better believe they're all getting at least some kind of moolah from that Zionist lobby.
I'll do my usual disclaimer on this, okay? It is absolutely possible this movie still slaps. It is possible it is fantastic, okay? But I will laugh my ass off if the Warner Brothers studio goes the way of the dodo bird because they hired the James Gunn guy. They hired that guy and then were shocked that he made a James Gunn Superman movie. I'm not even blaming Gunn in this situation. That's stupid executives. Like, imagine $200 million later, all of these announcements, all of this, company resources to project the new plan in the studio. Fucking years after the fact of you hiring this guy, you finally sit down and watch the movie and you realize you fucked up. Oh my God, that would be hilarious. That would be the funniest outcome of all time. That this Zaslav guy came in with the telecommunications money, bought the studio, was making moves, just trying to copy pasta Marvel Studios, and 3 years into it, he figured out he picked the wrong fucking guy. Oh my goodness, that would be so funny. I mean, it would be terrible for people that really care about Warner Brothers as a studio and an institution, but it would be pretty funny. I gotta be honest, that would be pretty funny. So, of course, we don't know for sure. I'm speculating here. I'm sort of reading the tea leaves of some things I have heard, the actual facts of the weirdness of the trailer and the screenings and all this stuff that we've been hearing, right? And then just Jeff's reporting and all of that. Now, here's the other.
Did you know that in Israel, Arabs are not allowed to buy or lease at least 13% of all the land? The Jewish National Fund was founded in 1901 by Theodor Herzl, the founder of political Zionism, and their job was to buy up the land in historic Palestine for Zionist settlement. The Jewish National Fund currently owns 13% of all the land in Israel, and much of that land is Palestinian land that was ethnically cleansed during the 1940s and 1950s. The JNF has an explicit policy of not selling or leasing any of that land that they manage to Arab citizens of Israel. When this policy was challenged in 2004 by a human rights group, the JNF came out and said that they do not have a duty to treat all citizens of Israel with equality. In 2007, the Jewish National Fund law was passed in the Knesset, affirming the Jewish National Fund's policy of discriminating against Arab citizens of Israel. Israel gives the Jewish National Fund the same powers as the state to evict homeowners and seize the land which they've exclusively used against Palestinian Arabs in Israel. They've also planted hundreds of millions of trees in Israel, non-native pine trees, many of which are over top of Palestinian villages. And in 2021, it was revealed that the Jewish National Fund had been secretly purchasing land in the West Bank with the help of the State of Israel through a subsidiary. So just to spell it out for you, the Jewish National Fund owns Palestinian land that was ethnically cleansed and then seized by the Jewish National Fund, and now Palestinians and Arabs in Israel are not even allowed to try to go live there again. They're not allowed to buy it. They're not allowed to lease it. This is why people say that Arabs are second-class citizens in Israel and that they are suffering an apartheid. The same human rights group who challenged the JNF's policy in 2004 also estimates that because of local laws in Israel, up to 80% of all land in Israel is unable to be leased or bought by Arabs. And that's because 93% of all Israeli land is state land. And laws like the nation state law give organizations like the Jewish National Fund the power to discriminate against Arabs, and it's all legal. If you think more people should hear about this, feel free to repost and copy the link. And if you want to support me, I'm at college now. You can go to my bio. There's a link where you can help me out. Thank you, and free Palestine.
Did you know that? There. We covered so much stuff right there. So you heard what Den of Nerds had to say. Shout out to South Cali guy putting this up on Twitter. Basically, Tony's saying, I told you, James Gunn makes everything like Guardians of the Galaxy in his career. And it shows these are all the same movie. Yeah, that's what his thing is. That's what people don't realize. He's one-dimensional. He's just one kind of movie he can make. Yep. Is what it is. So, I'm not surprised. with respect to Palestine and Israel, which is mostly what this video is about, yeah, I'm trying to tell you, Palestine is the Israelis have been doing a lot of very wrong things, and it's all about a land grab and getting people settled in there who are not even from the region. Which is just it's just weird that the people who are endemic to the region, they kick them out and they bring in people who are not part of the region in there. It's just such a weird thing that's going on right now. And they're using Donald Trump to try and ethnically cleanse Palestine. That in and of itself is going to be a very difficult task for them because Hamas is there and Hamas is going to continue to fight them. And they can do how many bombing campaigns they want. They're not going to get Hamas out of there just like that. They haven't been able to get rid of Hezbollah, and they won't. And they won't get rid of Hamas and all the other resistant groups in Gaza. Unfortunately for the West Bank, they're now organizing into resistance groups there to protect the people, etc. So that's happening. And the more Israel keeps on trying to be military and try to roll into these places and take them, is the more the people are going to resist. So, yes, Donald Trump is giving them all these tremendously destructive weapons, bombs and so on. But that's all I'm beginning to realize. All Israel and America is good at doing is bombing places. They do one or two assassinations as well, but they're really just good at bombing places. They really don't have any other weapons. And to see America involved in yet two wars right now, the Ukraine-Russia war and the Israel-Palestinian, not even war, slaughter, we could call it, but whatever. Just shows you what America's all about. They're just a war machine that talks like a lamb. They're a lamb-like beast. And so, and Revelation speaks about them, to be honest with you. So it's really straightforward that, in my opinion, the American empire is falling. China and Russia is they're going to be in the forefront. It's China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, Turkey. These guys are going to emerge. Iran, South Africa. And America is going to have to learn either play with them or disappear off the globe. And I guess the Native Americans, in the form of Mexicans, will go in there and populate it once again. I hate to laugh like that, but to me, it's like the path at which the American empire, Western Europe, not so much. Western Europe might just survive. They might just survive. But the United States of America looks like they're going to get wiped off the globe. The rate at which they're going, the amount of wars they get themselves involved in. Those tactics are old school tactics. Those are way back in the day tactics. They don't work today. The world has caught up to these first world nations, and they do the job better than they do now. And then all these fucking wars, you have also the refugees that went to Europe, it went to America, they went to these first world nations because they thought there was better life there, plus they wanted to try to escape the damage done. And most of the wars are caused by America, caused by Europe, Israel. So, karma's a bitch. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And God bless you all. Free Palestine. I'll keep on saying it. I'm not ashamed to say it either. I'm not afraid to say it. If I have to die for saying that, fine. As to the graduate student who has been abducted, I will also add that the resistance needs to continue all the way down into Louisiana, all the way down to the wherever they're housing him. Independent media, you guys need to jump on this. Y'all need to turn into what this dude used to be. Whatever his name is, I can't remember. You guys need to go to the places where they put the detainment centers or whatever, and y'all need to start asking questions and start beating down the doors. These people need to know. I'm going to explain to you how these people behave and what you need to do. These people only understand aggressive force. Donald Trump will back down if everybody comes down on him. Okay? You need to go down into Louisiana where they're supposed to be detaining some of these people, and you need to do investigative journalism. It's time we hold accountable DHS, ICE, all these organizations. Expose all of them, blow the lid off of all of them. It's about time we start doing it, because I'll tell you something. Our governments in the independent countries, most of them, some of them do care, but most of them don't give a flying damn about us. Okay? That's the truth. And so someone needs to hold them accountable, and that is us. Not only do we need to hold them accountable, but we also need to take action to stop them if they are doing something wrong. And we're not going to be begging them, please, and beg. No, we don't do that. We give them money. We pay taxes. And if they are taking our money and giving it to other countries so that those countries have a better living conditions and a higher standard of living than we who are paying them, something's very, very wrong. And those governments need to go. So if Elon Musk can't do the proper job and Donald Trump can't do the proper job, then it's up to the people to do the proper job. And we're not going to wait 4 years to vote them out to get somebody else who will do the same nonsense. No. It's time we take our destiny into our own hands as people. Learn the laws. Do your quick little Google search on the laws that govern your country. Start networking with people immediately. People from different aspects of community. We have experts in every single area. Some of them are YouTube videos. Some of them are wherever. Source these people. Get them together. Form your alliances and get to work. It doesn't take but 24 hours to start this. So, movements don't have any specific leader. It's not important you have a specific leader. It's important you coordinate it. I watch the Jewish Voices for Peace. Shout out to them. Again, the veterans, they need to step up and do what they need to do to protect, to preserve the Constitution and the rights of citizens. We need to stop thinking about race, religion, political affiliation. These are all illusions to keep us apart. We need to start coordinating and working together, regardless of race, creed, class. Some of you are very wealthy. You can fund the campaigns that are necessary. Some of you are very skilled. You have the expertise to handle certain situations. Some of you are adept in combat. We will need you to be strategic. This is the way how it has to proceed. Now, as far as we can, in the boundaries of good law, and good law benefits all people. Bad law only benefits a few. So, just as there's good and bad things, good things help people, edify people. Bad things damage and hurt people, right? Simple common sense, right? That's what good and bad is. Evil and good is that. So, If there's a group of people who want 7 billion people to be eliminated off the earth, they're bad people. They're not good people. Their motive is to kill, genocide on a massive scale. That's bad. That's not good. Okay? It's very simple. If something harms humanity or harms the planet or harms the animals on the planet or the living organisms on the planet, it's bad. It's not good. It's bad. You know what really pisses me off? These so-called elite people who supposedly run affairs of the earth or whatever. Some reason it hasn't dawned on them that this world is finite. What I mean by that is, this is common sense. This is basic science, common sense. Stars at the center of many galaxies will live out their lives and eventually die. In the process of that happening, at some point, they will expand into what is known as a red star. Our sun is young. That's why it's yellow. But one day, it will expand into or continue and expand into a red star. And when that day comes, or when that time comes, this earth will be consumed in that red star and will be no more. This earth is only here for a certain time. And these stupid people who are following these aliens or these demons do not realize that their legacy cannot last forever. And unless you start embarking on new galaxies much further away than here, which have younger stars in them, and you try to ensure that you can get as far away from this earth as you can and this galaxy as you can, so that if by any chance this yellow star becomes a red star and then supernovas or decreases in, you are far away from that. Unless you can do that, Mars is not far enough. Pluto is not far enough. Your legacy is going to vaporize into flames. So these people who say, oh, we're trying to preserve Earth, or and this is the way to control Earth, you're stupid. What you should be asking these demons or these aliens is, how the fuck do I get off the planet and go somewhere else very far away from here? And you can leave, the rest of the people there, why aren't they asking that question? But see, they're so under Satan, they don't realize how stupid they are. That in the scheme of things, they're going to be erased off of the map and never remembered again. Their legacy will be just like dust. It would matter nothing. It wouldn't matter. Anyways, just something I thought I'd say. So, for those who are anti-human, see us all as just stupid, dumb, existing things that take up space. To them I say this. If you're so wise, then make your legacy last beyond this world. But if you're not wise, your legacy and this world will be no more one day. You'd have wasted your fucking time destroying people because that's all you know, destruction, when it was going to be destroyed anyway. So instead of spending your time enjoying your life and enjoying the lives around you and seeing them blossom and enjoying every moment of life, your stupid ass decided you will try to play God when you never were a God. God lives forever. You won't.